Hey, good morning. Hey, that's hot. Welcome to SAPA and welcome to 2016. It's great to see everybody. It's a great group. I was worried no one would find us. Guess I was wrong. Maybe we should have it here more often. All right, so we had a little change of plans today. Our schedule says Kevin Rose is going to be here, but he went home sick yesterday, and he's still homesick. So Chris Blackstone's coming to fill in, and how timely is that? I'm sure you have lots of questions. But the Q&A is the second portion of this time, so yeah, let's let him talk first, and then we'll see where we end up. But I've asked Gary Mason to start us off with a word of prayer, so Gary.
Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to be together. Thank you for the recent Christmas season that we've just come through, and even for Epiphany yesterday in the Christian year, the reminder of your coming in the flesh, your care for us, that you would take the initiative to reach out and make a way for us to be brought back into relationship with you. Thank you for Spring Arbor, for its commitment to the truth of your word, to making sure that students are equipped to really make a difference for your kingdom. And Lord, we pray that that life-changing experience would continue for each one of our current students, both here on the Spring Arbor campus and our extended sites, and then even in the global community online. Lord, we pray that you would continue to work in each of our lives, that we would be the people you need for us to be, so that we can be impacting student lives in the ways that you would see fit. Lord, we're grateful for this time together, for the fellowship that we enjoy here at Spring Arbor in sharing together. And so, Lord, we just give this time to you, we give ourselves to you, and we're grateful for your goodness to us. In Christ's name, amen.
I want to make sure I give proper attribution to Shannon, who bailed us out this morning when we got the email saying that Kevin wasn't going to make it, and also to Chris for being gracious enough to show up on short notice. So, Chris, come on up and tell us what you got going on.
Oh, please. I think this is the second one of these I've been to, so what I will say is probably not at all following the path of what we're supposed to do, but I'm grateful to be here. I started here on the 26th of August, so I'm just starting my 5th month. Was living in Ann Arbor, so I was commuting from Ann Arbor to Spring Arbor every day until December 19th when we moved here on Dickens across the street from the Gins. And if you ever hear those stories about people like sending letters saying we want to buy your house, it actually works. So we sent letters to every house on Dickens and said, we're moving into the area, we're looking for a 4-bedroom house, will you sell us your house? And a family got back to us that they were thinking about maybe possibly moving. And so we talked to them and got them connected up with our realtor and ended up buying their house without it ever being on the market. And so now we're in a house and getting settled and glad to be part of the community around here. We homeschool our kids, and so now they can be part of the community right here. We're looking for a church in town, so we're really excited about this opportunity. I'll give you a little bit of background of myself. My father is a professor at U of M, so we kind of very much followed him around as he moved around the country. He taught at Huntington College, then moved out to Santa Barbara where he taught at Westmont. He is chair of the conducting department at U of M. And then we moved to LA for his doctorate at USC, and then Oklahoma, and then to Michigan. So we kind of been around higher education almost my whole life, and all of the joy and challenges that come with that. My family is kind of predominantly preachers and teachers. And so that's the background that I bring here. I went to Wheaton for my undergrad. I was a computer science major, and as a sophomore in college, I realized, actually I started as a math major, thinking I wanted to be a teacher. Realized my sophomore in college, I didn't like math. So I thought it probably wasn't a good idea to teach that to high school kids. So I switched to computer science, and then realized very quickly I didn't want to be a full-time programmer. But luckily enough, this was 1995 when the web kind of became a thing. So the internet and web design was where my focus was. I built the first athletics department website for Wheaton. I did the website for the Billy Graham Museum on campus and the bookstore, and that kind of became my thing. And so after college, I thought I wanted to go to politics. So I was like, hey, I'll move out to DC. I worked for a school district there, managing all of their web activities. Realized very quickly politics was not going to be for me because it's very hard to be a person of conviction in an environment where you're dependent on other people liking you enough to vote for you. But I loved being in education. I loved the opportunity to work with teachers and students, both on the instructional end, getting to train teachers on how to do things, getting to work with students. It was a real great joy. I then entered the business world and worked in digital marketing companies, both as a developer, but then as a trainer. So one of the things I would do is I would go to clients like Ford and Steelcase, and I was training them on how to use technology. And so I'm a fairly atypical head of technology for higher ed institution. Most often they're very much developers and they get very deep in the weeds of things. My background is very kind of different from that. I like the conversations about what we want to do. I like the higher level discussions and vision and strategic things and where we want to go. I want to spend my time doing that so that when it gets to the point of my team doing work, they know what they need to do when there aren't roadblocks in the way. So as any of you have thoughts and ideas about things that you want to see happen here that technology can facilitate in any way, please let me know. I want to have those discussions. I think we have a lot of really great opportunities of what we can do here, of how we can both impact how we communicate, how our instructors are using technology in the classroom, how the students are engaging in technology. One of my kind of pet projects is I'm working with Bobby Pratt to potentially put on some kind of seminars with the students to help them understand how to use technology better, both from like the nuts and bolts of managing files and devices and stuff like that, but also holistically, how does technology affect your life? Is the image you're putting on public media who you really are, or are you curating a brand, so to speak, so that there's an impression of you out there in the world that isn't actually you? How do we, in our drive to be diligent with our work, how do we appropriately set up distance between our personal life and work life so that we can really maintain some of the sanctity and the necessity of togetherness in a family that can really get impinged upon when your smartphone's right there on the desk all the time and people can get at it. For me, this job has been a change, and that is the first job I've ever had where I set up my work email on my personal device. So there's been a lot of challenges for me, and I can imagine a lot of other people go through that same thing. And so determining for myself what is the appropriate distance between technology and myself, in the home. I'm married and we have 4 kids, 7 5-year-old twins and a 20-month-old, and there's nothing more important to them than me and my time. And part of the way I help to guard that is to not have technology at the ready, because it's amazing how quickly kids will pick up on it and they can use it and they can navigate it, but that can be a very easy babysitter, and I can't let comfort come in the way of what God has called me to do in leading my family. And it's a challenge, when you get home from work, sometimes, when I had an hour commute, it was a nice little buffer to kind of decompress, but it also was terrible being in the car 2 hours a day. Now I have a 15-minute walk, and that helps in that. But yeah, that's something, that we also want to do, myself and my team want to also have systems and services that allow you to get the information you need as quickly as possible, and don't require us to be gatekeepers or require everything to be filtered through us, because we want to facilitate you the job that you need to do and make sure that you have the information you need when you need it, and don't feel like, I have this tiny little window I can get hold of technology services, and if I don't need it there, then we're not going to get it done. We have, I have big goals and visions of where we want to go, and a lot of little things to get us there. So I'm excited for what is coming. I'll give a brief little update on how things are going, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. For those of you that live in town, we had a power outage on the 28th. Normally with a power outage around here, we have generators and they kick up and everything keeps going. Unfortunately, like your car, generators have radiator hoses. And when radiator hoses break, they lose coolant, and losing coolant is terrible for an engine, which is basically what a generator was. So when we lost one of our generators, The remaining generators didn't have enough beef behind them to keep everything going, which meant all of our systems here went down. And there is almost nothing worse for technology than a sudden loss of power. And so we've been experiencing a lot of problems as a result of that, and that was compounded and has led to our current email problems. We were advised by both Microsoft, like big Microsoft, and our vendor of a certain change to make to our email system that we were assured would have no effect on email delivery, and in fact it has affected all email delivery. So what has happened, for those of you here at the start of the school year, we migrated all the students to email in the cloud, Office 365. The real benefit to that is now we're no longer dependent on the infrastructure we have here. It's hosted and managed by Microsoft, which does this kind of thing for a living. We had planned over the course of the spring and summer to migrate all the other faculty and departments. Part of that process was a cloud mailbox for faculty and staff members, but mail wasn't going there. Because of this change, email is now going there. So the note that was sent out yesterday, a note on the portal telling faculty and staff to check the student email link, that is your in the cloud mailbox where everybody will end up. Right now, it's the only email that's going there are email from students and email from my team, because we wanted to eat our own dog food and migrate early. The challenge we found now is that's not the case for every faculty and staff member. Emily Wymore and I are able to email back and forth with no problems. But Sharon and I can't go back and forth, Joe and I can't go back and forth, so it's proving to be a particularly challenging situation. So instead of doing a slow migration over months, we're going to start all the email migrations on Friday. There should be minimum disruption to your email. Your current email will still continue to be there. We will be all hands on deck coming back Monday to help you walk you through a small change that may need to be made on a mobile device if you have your email set up on it. If you have your email set up on your computer, you should only need to simply close Outlook, open it back up, enter your login information once, and that's it. But we will be all hands on deck to walk each of you through that process. I'm trying to think through and work through putting some of my staff at various locations around campus so that faculty and staff don't have to necessarily come to us or call us. We can be there at the ready. We're still working through that. This is not only embarrassing, it's kind of disastrous for a technical team to have problems with email at the start of a semester. We are working as hard as we can on this. We'll do the best that we can to resolve it as quickly as we can in a way that's most minimally disruptive, but we are feeling the pain absolutely as much as everybody else because our emails aren't going through either. So that's kind of it. I'll open it up to questions, and then I may have more stuff, but I want to make sure that we have time for questions. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Talk about the box.
So our plan was to roll box out to everybody on Monday. Because of the email situation, I am postponing that because that would not be wise. But in the near future, we will be rolling out Box to all our faculty, staff, and students. Box is a cloud file storage solution. What that means is instead of your personal files and eventually your department level files being on the J drive or the F drive or the G drive, and you can only access them here on campus, they will be in the quote unquote cloud, and anywhere that you have internet access, you will be able to access your documents. Mobile device, laptop, from a web browser, if you don't have any of your devices, that's what the future of that will be. Exactly, Chromebox in the classroom and aside, there will be no limit to, as long as you have internet access, you can access your files. The first wave of that is we've been working with School of Human Services to get their department migrated, working very closely with them. We will be working with each department individually to migrate departmental files. That also becomes the time for your department. If you have a whole lot of really old files and documents and your directory structure is kind of a mess, we will work with you to help figure out how to make that sane and make it easy to find information, figure out maybe we don't need to have 1,000 folders in here anymore. So we'll work with you closely on that. But as far as giving access to individual users for it, once we send out the email that you have access, you can go on, you can log in, you can set it up to sync everything to your local computer. We'll work with you closely on that. But there will be two different kind of phases of it. One is to get individual people using it, then we will work with departments holistically as each department to migrate your materials in the way that makes most sense to you. Yeah?
I have two questions. First of all, do you know like what steps we would need to take to adjust our phone come Monday?
The only change will be the actual name of the server that it's using to check to email.
Can that information, like I'm going to be out of the office all day Monday, and it would be awesome if I could have my email on my phone?
We will be publishing it on the portal. There will be links to it from the non-logged in page on the portal and the logged in page on the portal. And we'll have screenshots and all that will go along with it.
Okay. And then secondly, we have students, like I'm at the Galen site, and so we have students who are still, they actually have like a faculty email rather than a student one. Is that something that will change as the email?
Email addresses won't change.
Okay. Is there a way that she can go to being a student? She's having issues. She has to log into the faculty email.
Once we do the migration, which will be for all faculty and staff, then she will log into she will access it the same way that everybody else does. And that we've done that migration with some on campus, so it should go well. We did it with the students, but it's technology and you can't ever know anything for sure. But I'm not anticipating a lot of wrinkles with that because we went through it with the students. Other questions? Yeah.
What's your future plan for alumni email addresses?
So we have 30-some thousand alumni email addresses, and I'm going to assume over time that the more recent graduates are going to use a Spring Arbor email address less and less. The problem is in the past we've had no mechanism to determine that, and one of the particular challenges that alumni has is they don't have an easy way to give us their current information in a way that doesn't require us to re-enter that information into CARS. So I've been talking to Steve and talking with Matt to figure out a way we can communicate to alumni and have them be able to enter their information into CARS to keep us current with job status and address and all that kind of stuff. The other part of that is to communicate with them related to, do they want to keep their Spring Arbor email address or not, or is there a more appropriate one for them? Part of that process will be a change to their email address a little bit, and that will become first name last time at alumni.arbor.edu. But managing 30,000 alumni email accounts that may or may not be used is not necessarily the best use of our time. We want to make sure we have an actually accurate email address for them, and we want to make sure that they can manage their own information so that we know what their current address is, and we don't have to print out a form and mail it to us, and then Matt and his team have to enter it in. So that's one of I have some kind of pie in the sky projects for 2016. That's one of them, is to alumni email migration and allow them to manage their own informational CARS. One of them is to fix the retention management system and get it up to date so that we have a 100% working current retention management system. We are working and investigating a better solution for scanning IDs in chapel. The solution we have is very long in the tooth, and so I'm working with Dan, and we're talking about what does student development want to see from their interaction with the students, and we may end up, I think, working with Slingshot as well on that. And then there's also been conversations with Slingshot potentially on a mobile app for Spring Arbor University. And part of that process is determining and working with students to identify what do they want access to in a mobile application. I think we have a decent idea. My background is digital marketing, so that's kind of the world that I've lived in for the past 16 years. But we want to make sure that what we're providing students is going to be helpful to them. And almost every school that I've talked to, and higher institution, if you're not giving students information related to courses and some of that really detailed stuff, there's not really much benefit to be gained from it. So it will be work with Slingshot and MNC and my team, for interface of this and getting the information there that we want and things like that. So, other questions? I mean, these can be really basic questions like, you know, whatever. I'm not there yet. Yeah.
For the emails that aren't going through right now, the ones that aren't migrated and the ones that are, will those be just lost in the time, or when everything's migrated, will those show up all of a sudden?
So right now, emails are getting delivered into here on campus, and there are some that are getting delivered into the cloud. When the migration happens, everything that you're seeing in your current Outlook, for example, will all be in the cloud. As far as I know right now, in our conversation with Microsoft, there's no way for us to know if emails didn't actually get delivered. Anecdotally, I've been told that that is the case. It's kind of like if you mail a letter and it doesn't get delivered, like there's not necessarily a way to know that it didn't get delivered. And part of the problem is because of the power outage with things we generate a huge backlog of emails waiting to be delivered, and some of those timed out as part of that process. So we won't lose any that I know of, but there's not really a way to know what we don't know, if that makes sense. But once the migration happens, all of your email will be in the cloud. Okay.
Will everything in the cloud be in our Outlook on our desktop?
Yes, because the part of the process of the migration will be your local Outlook being configured to be pointing to that address in the cloud and not the one here on campus. That'll get moved as well. Absolutely everything that's in your current system will be available in the cloud.
So if I understand it correctly, I'm preparing a mass email, so if I send out 1,000 emails, I'm not going to know who to get them?
If you are not a student or part of my team, anything you send will be anything you send will be received by the end user. The problem becomes students or my team sending to some other people that are faculty and staff. So you sending it out, you won't have any problems. You will need to check your email and Outlook and that student email link for any responses, because they may go in either place depending.
Okay, and the students will be able to respond if they can receive it in one of those two locations?
Exactly, yes.
So this morning I used the link to reply to 4 or 5 students whose messages went to the cloud, but my message to them did not appear in my sent folder. Will those appear eventually?
Your sent folder in Outlook or your sent folder on the web? They will eventually appear in your sent folder in Outlook once the migration happens. They will appear in your sent folder on the web. And any further questions you have, like, it's not a bother to send me an email or call me on the phone. We also, in my team and the business office and other groups, are using a tool called HipChat, which is a chat tool, but the real benefit of it is you can create rooms around a particular topic and contain the conversation about that topic in one place. So you can see the context of your communication instead of a 20 email thread where someone started at the bottom and it went from there. So I've been telling everybody in Dietsman, if you want to get a hold of myself and my team, that's the way to do it. It's an incredibly valuable tool. It's free. If you are at all interested, please let me know, because I'm trying to move my team to get as much of our communication out of email as possible. This is a great way to do it. So let me know if you have questions and I will get you set up. I'm happy to come over and do trainings, dog and pony shows, all that stuff. Anything else? Thank you all very much. And thank you for your patience with this. We are with you in experiences pain. We are doing everything we can. The alternative to the migration was 75 hours of one of my staff's time to manually edit each faculty and staff email account. So this is not the way we wanted to go, but we'll get there. And we really, really thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Chris. Now we get to hear from Anna Tabone, our Assistant Director of the MSFL program here on campus and a graduate of the MSFL program. So she's going to come and give us a devotional.
Good morning, friends. I stick to my script. I'll read it, but I'll also engage as well. But this week is one of the busiest in my job because we're preparing for our residency in January. All of our students gather from, actually, I can say all over the world, because we have a student in Japan who's probably going to get to the residency before we do because of his flight and stuff. But so as I was thinking and preparing for today, and I was thinking, actually reminded of a story from last year that's kind of made me think about year end and like what happened in 2015. So I thought I'd share with you that story and then like what God has taught me this year through that. So the same week last year, first week of January, I was working on all the last minute details for the MSFL residency course. The students were to gather at Mishindo Conference Center for the week and learn from our guest lecturer, Phyllis Tickle. It was a most memorable work week for me because it was filled with the unexpected. On my mind were all the details of printing. Sue Hat is amazing, you know, she always comes through. Packing, picking up the people mover key on time, and of course, there's always that one phone call that Damon gets alerting me that one of my students is really upset, to say the least, you know, and decided to call the president instead of me, you know, so you got that. So as I went to sleep that Friday night, students were coming on Sunday, I remember reminding myself that things would come together just as they always do. But I woke up to the sound of my phone ringing that next morning, and I didn't recognize the number, so I let it go to voicemail, hoping for at least another half hour of sleep. But when I listened to the message, I heard Phyllis's voice, and I jumped out of bed. She was apologizing, and her voice was really tired, and she was explaining that her husband Sam had died in the night, and she wasn't going to come to Michigan. You can imagine the tension there. I called her back immediately and we talked for a few minutes. It was the right decision, of course. You know, she needed to be with her children and her family, and we were going to be okay. So that afternoon, Eric and Ken and Mary and Mojo and I all gathered into Eric's office, and we decided that we were going to move forward, because the students were beginning their travels, and we had everyone and everything we needed to make sure that we had teaching coverage so they received their required hours for that credit. So Saturday night, the MSFL staff spending the week at Mishindo arrived, only to find out the winter weather had knocked out all of the power in Hillsdale County. Can you believe that? One more thing. It was great. We were just laughing. But amidst all of these hurdles, I had hope that things would soon be made right and clear, and I had hope that once we were all together, seeing the joy of students meeting for some for the first time and then some for the last time that they would be together, that the stress of the week would just disappear. And I hoped that whatever God had planned for the students would come true in their hearts and in their minds. Having already taught a session later in the week, Richard Foster asked if instead of his usual Q&A with the students, he could simply have the chance to pray over them. Our worship leader played music in the background while all in the classroom assumed postures of prayer. Richard went around to each student, put his hand on their head, and spoke a line of prayer, praising Jesus for their life. He made his way to the back where I was sitting, and the words I remember him saying were that he would experience a deepening of hope. Hope. So that's been my word for this past year. That night I looked up all the verses in my Bible that had the word hope. I knew that hope does not disappoint, and that it was Jesus who we were to put our hope in, and that he was the hope for salvation. But the scripture that captured my attention the most was from Lamentations 3:22 through 30. And this is the Message version if you couldn't figure it out. God's loyal love couldn't have run out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They are created new every morning. How great is your faithfulness. I'm sticking with God. I say it over and over. He's all I've got left. God proves to be good to the man who passionately waits, to the woman who diligently seeks. It's a good thing to quietly hope for help from God. It's a good thing when you're young to stick it out through hard times. When life is heavy and hard to take, go off by yourself. Enter the silence. Bow in prayer. Don't ask questions. Wait for hope to appear. So looking back on this year, there are so many ways that I've grown into this prayer and of Richard's over me, the deepening of hope, and with the scripture from Lamentations. Having hope and hoping come on a wide spectrum, you know, there's that one end where you hope that Frosty Boy, the new owners, have the same Dole Whip flavors that they always had because you waited so long, they were closed for so long. But then on the other end, you hope that there's healing for a friend that's been sick for a long time, right? I don't know, the English language does a disservice to us in this respect. But this year I have grown in a deepening of all of my hopes, in a sense that I've let my hopes for friends and family and future burrow deep into my heart. The joy of longing for things to be made right and good is mixed with that pain of the not yet hopes. So this year I desire to grow into the truth and reality and the practice of that last line in Lamentations. Enter the silence, bow in prayer, don't ask questions, wait for hope to appear. Because what I've learned is that hope, with a capital H appearing, is Jesus himself. And it is my hope that not only what I'm waiting for will come to fruition, but who I'm waiting for. Because I believe that God's action doesn't come without his presence, but his presence is more than enough. This week we are in the season of Epiphany. We waited all December through Advent for the light of the world, Jesus, to come on Christmas Day, and now we celebrate his incarnation, his with usness, his Emmanuel. My prayer for all of us is that we grow into acknowledging this hope fulfilled, that Christ has come and lives among us, and that we continue to grow in the hope of his redeeming work in the world, that he is the one that makes things new, right, and good.
Thank you so much. Okay, up next, Ty Davis. Ty is going to tell us what's going on with student government and, the general student population as a whole. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Good morning, guys. So as you guys know, we're in a new year, and one of the biggest things that students had the shocking of coming back to was the paved potholes that are now covered. Bobby Pratt and I, at first I was like, guys, can we get this done? I had called Bobby Pratt and Dan, and we had a meeting, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna get that done. However, sadly, BJ was in a horrible fire accident, and he was out for a couple of months. He was gonna be out. And so I said to Dan, I said to Bobby, I said, well, I'm willing to do it. Like, if you guys need someone to do it, I'll get out there and I'll do it. Mind you, I've never done anything in my life, physical. I'm saying throwing gravel and cement pouring, and so I came prepared, ready. It was the last day of finals that Friday, and so I'm like, all right, this isn't gonna be that bad. Well, after I found my niche on how to, throw it down and everything, it ended up going well. And before you know it, we were done within an hour and 20 minutes. And so students had the surprise of coming back yesterday to a filled filled potholes, which was a blessing because a lot of students complained about those potholes, and sometimes, I mean, I even complained about them. So I was very, very grateful for that. So that's one student update. Also on tomorrow, we have Skating for Tooks, which is put on by the resident halls, RDs, if I'm not mistaken. And then next Friday, we have a pool party, which is going to be taking place over in the field house. So we're going to be having pizza, and it's going to be like a pool party for all the students to come and enjoy. And one other thing that we are going to be doing, Dan and I are working on, is the Student Leadership Summit, which is going to take place in the RCF, a big fun event for all student leaders that I'm planning. So that's all that I have so far. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, next up, Brian Walrath is going to come give us an update from the faculty. Typically that's John Hawthorne, but he's teaching right now. So as forum president, John usually comes, but Brian's stepping in. Thank you.
I'm not John, definitely. Okay, this will be short and sweet. John sent me this cryptic email about 3 things he wanted me to tell you. And I have no idea what some of them mean, but that's okay. That's John. First one is progress is being made on general education, even if it's slow. Anybody know what that means? I think it has something to do with relooking at the Gen Ed package, right, for the campus. Okay, well, if you have a question, ask John. Second was there was a couple of surprise things for us at faculty forum and faculty meetings in the last days of the semester. One was the discussion about enhancing our public profile and modeling, getting some modeling ideas from what Albion College has done with regard to how they've promoted themselves by adding some additional sports programs and enhance their enrollment, and how that's really turned it around for them. So that was interesting. Not sure where that's going to go for us, but that was an announcement. And the last thing was just the news about the faculty non-renewals that took place at Christmas time, or some of the announcements that were made with staff and faculty being let go. We really didn't get details on that given to us. We were told that it was private, and that if the people who were not having their contracts renewed wanted to inform us, that they would have to do that personally. So we don't have any kind of even a list of faculty that are not coming back. We've, like you, have probably heard the rumor mills, you know, about who's not coming, whose contract's not finished, not going to be renewed. But I guess we can't say anything much more about that, except that it was a surprise to us. And we are feeling the grief of losing some good people and some of our departments, and just praying that that's the end of the story in terms of the downtrend. So I guess that's all I can say, unless you have some questions that I probably can't answer. Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so that's all we had on our agenda today. I wanted to say thanks to everyone for showing up today. First of all, even with the location change, maybe we should do it more often. Yeah, like I said earlier, got a great group today. A couple of last things. There's a full pot of coffee there, so grab a cup on your way out if you are a heavy coffee drinker. Or maybe there's someone back at the office that couldn't make it that would enjoy a nice cup of Sacred Grounds coffee, and you could deliver that to them. Or maybe a little cup of trail mix or a muffin. Just help yourselves on your way out. Our treat to you. The next thing I wanted to leave you with as well is this meeting actually puts us past the halfway point of our SAPA meetings for this year, which is kind of crazy. This year is going so fast. But with that in mind, I want to just throw this out there. If you enjoy SAPA, if you'd like to come, if you'd like to be involved, I just throw it out there to say we're going to need new SAPA representatives in the coming year. I've done this for 3 years as SAPA leadership, as vice president, and 2 years as president, and I'm thinking of retiring. So looking to pass the baton, so I want to throw it out there. If you're interested in getting involved in this program, I'd say shoot me an email, but just give me a call, and I can talk to you about the different roles and what that entails. And the SAPA team we have right now is fantastic. Everybody's great. We love working together. And it's just a fun way to get involved here on campus with staff. So anyway, let me know. Give me a shout out somehow. Hip chat, that works. I'm on Hip chat as well. So let us know if you would be interested in that, and we'll move forward from there. We'll give you more updates on that process again in the coming months as well. So thanks again for coming. Have a blessed day. See you later.